Hello everyone. It's been a while since I made a video, but I figured this is something that probably happens to a lot of us that have bought a home. We weren't the ones that planned a sprinkler system, so when we dig to put new plants in areas, we tend to find those sprinkler lines, and when we find them, we tend to put a shovel or a or a spade through them when we're digging a hole. So I did that today, and it's in a really weird section of a joint that there's two pipes going different directions, so it's going to be hard to fix. So I'm going to try and fix this with some things, with one thing that most people have in their house, which is a soldering iron, because it's a crack right in a T. And like I said, to cut that out and put a new T in there, it would take a digging of a big large area, so I have room to bend pipes and put new couplings in there and such. But what we're going to do is I'm going to solder the crack on the T first, and I'm going to try to mold and fill. It's just a crack right at the end of when the PVC pipe goes in, so I'm hoping I can use a soldering iron and melt that little crack together. And then I'm going to use a product called Plast-Aid, and that's P-L-A-S-T, Aid. You can get it at your hardware stores. I've used this on other things. It's amazing. But I'm going to solder it first, then I'm going to use that Plast-Aid just to hopefully be sure that I fix that crack without having to dig everything out and replace anything. And it all started because when I go to the hardware store, I like to go to the aisle where they sell all their plants half price, you know, or even more, because they've almost killed them. I've received a lot of, or purchased a lot of plants that way. A peach tree that they almost killed, I bought that a couple of years ago, and it's producing a lot of peaches now. So, and it's a Charlie Brown plant, but that's what caused me to break a pipe of my sprinkler line. And this is it right here. Well, this is a Charlie Brown plant that I picked up. You can see it needs a little help, but it is like a purple jasmine, so it's going to be really pretty. It's going to have a good fragrance. It's got a lot of new growth on it. I mean, I've been watering it for a couple of weeks and decided finally where I wanted to put it. So what we're going to do is fix that leak so I can get that plant in the ground. So hopefully I'll get that pipe fixed, get that plant in the ground, and we'll go on from there. So I'm going to go get my soldering iron, get an electrical cord out here, and then we'll show you what I'm using. Alright, talk to you in a minute. Okay, so the heating iron is ready to go. And let's see if I can get a close-up on this crack. It's right there, so let me try to melt this kind of and put it together here. Just melt the PVC and blend it in that crack. So we'll let that set for a minute, and I'll give it a little bit of sanding. And then, well, let me get this little piece from here to kind of make it a little stronger. Okay, so that's melted together there. That's how simple that was. And now I'm going to mix up some Plast-Aid, and we'll put that on as a coat. But like I said, I'm going to sand that a little bit first. Now, I'm only sanding it to kind of get the chalkiness out of it. I actually want to leave it a little bit on the rough side so that that Plast-Aid has something to grip onto. The thing about the Plast-Aid is it's not just a glue. It actually melts and bonds to the PVC. So I've heard people think of it as even like a plastic or a gel type of PVC bonding tool. So we'll see how that works. We'll give that, I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going to go mix some Plast-Aid, and then we'll give it a test. So for those of you that's seen some of our videos, I kind of tend to reuse a lot of things around the house. I do a lot of, I make baits, and I do a lot of airbrushing. So I like to keep these, you know, like these little caps are just off a sports water bottle. So whenever I have them around, I don't throw them away. I keep them and I reuse them. And that's what I'm going to mix the Plast-Aid with. The Plast-Aid is a powder and a liquid that you mix together. And there's no set mixture. So if you're going to use it to like fill a crack, you want it to be a little, you know, less thick, a little bit on the thin side. I'm going to go ahead and mix some of this up, and I'll be right back. So, like I said, I just made a little bit, enough to cover that crack. And my thickness is kind of like, you know, it's kind of like gooey, like Play-Doh a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on that crack and see how it goes. You're not going to get the whole view of this because I'm trying to set my phone in the hole so I can do this with one hand and actually get some filming of it, but basically I'm just going to put it on there, build it up a little bit. And the thing about this, you don't have to worry about getting it on your hands. And you can actually, when it starts to get a little bit tacky or moldable, you can actually use your fingers to put it on there. So I'll give it a second. And just mold it on there. I'm kind of just feathering out the edges, make it thick. But that should do it. That's going to dry in about 5 minutes, and then we'll turn on the water and see if it worked. Well, I was so excited about everything working right, I forgot to take a picture of the test that showed it wasn't leaking. But it didn't leak, and this is what that hole looks like now. Yahoo! Charlie Brown plant is planted, and no leaks.